Hello and welcome to a new and exciting JS Drop. Today with me, I got Baptiste and Ferdinand from the Nuxt Labs that are going to share with us all the wonder on Nuxt Studio, Nuxt Content, and Nuxt UI. So you expect we've got a very, very busy day ahead. It's a big pleasure to have you around. Look forward to hear everything about the Nuxt Studio, guys. And what we do, we're actually going to start this with Ferdinand, if I'm not wrong. He's going to give us a little introduction, and then Baptiste is going to go straight into the actual coding and showing us how to do things. Ferdinand, take ahead, take the mic.
Thank you, Simone. Thank you for this introduction. I'm Ferdinand. I've been with Nuxt Labs for a little bit over 2 years now. And my role at Nuxt Labs is basically to take care of everything that the devs doesn't want to do. So, everything from sales to communication to marketing and all that funny stuff that you can find in startups. And today, I would like to tell you a little bit about Nuxt and about Nuxt Labs, the differences between the two, and what we're trying to achieve over at Nuxt Labs before passing the mic to Baptiste, who's going to go in details in the technical side. A few words about Nuxt Labs. Basically, Nuxt Labs and Nuxt are one and are the same team, but we're trying, to remain independent, a little bit like church and state, in a way that we are true believers of the open source ecosystem, and we want Nuxt, the open source solution, to remain as it is, meaning an MIT license, open source project with a public governance and a public roadmap. And on the other side, we have Nuxt Labs. Nuxt Labs is the company, let's say not parent company, but the company aside from Nuxt, which was created for one specific reason, which was to develop products and services to generate resources and allocate these resources to Nuxt and make sure that this open source solution is sustainable. Among the different services and products that we develop, we started, of course, by the servicing side. As our listener will know that SaaS product doesn't come in a few days. We started by developing some support solution because we know on the Vue and Nuxt ecosystem that it's something that counts a lot for users. So training, consulting, and anything that you can think of. If you have a need in Nuxt on our Vue, don't hesitate to contact the Nuxt Labs team. We'd be glad to either help you ourselves or redirect you to our amazing agency partners. So that from the service side, we worked also on the product side with one objective in mind again, which was to develop all the different products that the Nuxt users could need. So we went on the project management side with Volta, but that was a little bit before, and now more actively on the hosting side with Nuxt, which is a proxy to Cloudflare. To Cloudflare. Thank you, Baptiste. Also Nuxt Studio, which is the Baptiste baby, and we will dive in on that a little later. But also other products like Nuxt UI, and also a lot of different open source projects to make the next experience as complete as possible. So here is a quick introduction between Nuxt and Nuxt Labs, and now I will perhaps leave it to Baptiste to go into the technical details.
Okay, let's go. Thank you. Hello everyone. Let's start by sharing my screen. Okay, you should see the landing page of Nuxt Studio.
Yeah.
Is it okay? Okay, perfect. Okay, so today I will try to demonstrate what is Nuxt Studio, what is Nuxt Content, because both projects from the Nuxt Content module and Studio project are both really close and related. So I will create a website from scratch to demonstrate what we can do with those tools. Before diving in, I will have just a quick overview of what is Nuxt Studio and what is Nuxt Content, and then we'll start the live coding. So to have a small overview of what is Studio, we can consider this platform as the platform to edit your website content. So this is where you can edit all the content of your website if you are using Nuxt Content. So for more info about the product, of course, you can check the landing, but with the demonstration I will do, you should have a bigger overview of what is Nuxt Studio. To talk about Nuxt Content, so Nuxt Content is the only requirement to use Nuxt Studio. In fact, Nuxt Studio could even be represented as the pro version of Nuxt Content. This is where you can edit your Nuxt Content websites from your browser. And Nuxt Content, on the other side, can be considered as the Git-based CMS for Nuxt. Why Git-based? Because your content is located at the same place as your application. So you have your Nuxt application, and in this Nuxt application, we are just created a content folder. This content folder is, in this content folder, you can have all your content files that can be Markdown, YAML, CSV, JSON. So this folder can be representing your database. And then with the Nuxt Content module, you have lots of utilities, query builders, and other stuff you can use to query this content and display it in your Nuxt application. So I will dive in the documentation during the demonstration, but yeah, let's start with the live coding. Just one thing, Ferdinand already talked about the UI library. I will use this library to build my website because it will save a lot of time, and I will even use the pro version of Nuxt UI, which is Nuxt UI Pro, because there is a lot of already existing components you can you can use to create your website. So it will save a lot of time. So I will use also this documentation during the live coding. Let's switch to the code itself. So I already prepared a really classical application. Okay, so this is a really classical Nuxt project. The only thing is I'm already using the compatibility version of Nuxt 4. So it means I'm using the app folder, the app structure, but everything is, it's really a classical Nuxt application. So I have all my, first I have all my config files here, and then in the app folder I have all my application, and you can also see that I have my content folder. So my content folder does have all the content I want to query on my website. So I have 3 articles about different mountains, Pyrenees, Alps, and Himalaya, and I have the landing page, what will be the landing page of the website. For the moment, it's a to-do. So let's dive in. It's really simple. I have just a layout. Okay, first of all, before talking, let's just launch the server. So I have a layout with an header, and the core of my page is encapsulated into the UMain component, which is a UI Pro component that's only a container, adding some padding, margin, just to have a visually good looking website. And then I have a footer. If I check my component, you can have the app footer is here. It's using uFooter under the hood, and my app header is using uHeader under the hood. If I check here, you can see directly in UI Pro you have the footer. So I'm using this footer, and you have the header here, and I'm using this header. And that's all. I can check what is it looking for the moment. Okay, so you can see that I have I can switch in. So I have the header, you can see the header and the footer, and now I want to build everything that is inside the Vue main. So for this, I have my app.view. The app.view is just my default layout with the router inside it, so the Nuxt pages. And the pages, I have my index and a catch-all pages for my article. That's really simple. So let's start with the index.view. The first thing I want to do is integrating some components. So I have already created some components. We will just read the code together. The first one is the hero component. It's using the Vue landing hero of UI Pro, which is the one I already show. Okay, this one. So I will just create a landing arrow this way. So it's really easy. I'm using this landing arrow and I'm just surcharging the slot I want to surcharge. So there is an headline. I want to use this headline slot and use a badge inside of it, but I want also to expose my own headline slots. Same for the title. I'm using the title slot, but instead of a classical slot, here you can see that I'm using a content slot. Content slot is provided by Nuxt Content. You can see it as a slot where you can put some markdown in it. So it's interpreting markdown, but that's working exactly the same as classical slot. Same for the description. I just want to be able to integrate some markdown in my description slot, so I'm doing this. And for the links, I also want to expose the link slots when using my home hero, so I just add my slot inside the template links. Let's now integrate this component on my page. So I will do that in a two-way. I will first add it with the classical syntax. So here I'm using the Vue syntax. I have the home hero, and then I have title, description, headline, links. My 4 slots are here, and it should be displayed on my page. Okay, so wonderful. I will go back to light mode because I preferred it. So here I have my hero, which is already there. But what I want to do is I want to give ability to my content writers to edit this content. So with Studio, they can edit this content if this content is located in the Markdown file. So I will just move back to content to explain what we can do with Markdown with Nuxt Content. So Nuxt Content is using Markdown file, but with this Markdown we have created a supercharged Markdown, which is known as the MDC syntax. MDC stands for Markdown Component. And with this MDC syntax, you have several features. One of them is the integration of Vue components. So you can create some components, and just like this example, here you have a card.vue, which is looking this, not really beautiful, but that's a Vue component. And you can integrate it directly in your Markdown. So this is what we will do with our home hero component. So I'm coming back here, and I will take my index here, index Markdown with the to-do, and I will use the home hero component with the MDC syntax. Here it is. Okay, so what I can do is this. Here you have the Vue version, and here you have the Markdown version. So the syntax is this one. Here, the name of my component in kebab case. I have all my slots here. The title, you can see that inside the title, because I'm using content slot here, I can use some Markdown. It will be interpreted. And then I have my description. And for the link slots, that's the same. I'm using a button here, which is a U button, which is the same as this one, but the syntax is different. Here I'm using this syntax to add my props on it, but that's the exact same thing. Okay, so now I should go back to my index.view. I can remove this. Now I want to display my markdown. My content is there in my content folder. Now I want to grab it, I want to fetch it, and I want to display it. The only thing I need to do is to use the query content composable, which is available in Nuxt Content. And I'm just saying, give me my root pages. Root pages is always the index.md, so it will return the index.md. And then I'm just adding a check to be sure that the page exists and return to my error page if it does not exist, but I hope it will. And then to display this page, I'm just using the content renderer. It's a Nuxt Content component, which is interpreting my markdown and displaying my markdown as it is. So now that I have my markdown page ready, I'm fetching it and I'm displaying it with the content renderer. It should already be available there. Okay, great. I can see that I have my headline, I have my title, I have my description, and the link here. Everything from here is displayed. One thing I didn't say, but I don't know if you've noticed, but I've created all those components in the components/content folder. You have to, if you want to use a component in a markdown file, you have to put it in the components/content folder. We don't want all components to be globally available because it could result in a too big build bundle. But if you want to use those components inside the markdown, just add it in the component/content folder. So that's why I've created the home folder and all my components are here. Okay, great. So I have my first component. I will go faster now to add the other two components. The second one is an image. I want to add a big image at the middle of my screen. So for that, I'm using the ULanding section, which is adding some padding and margin. And I will just center a slot inside this component. Really easy component. Let's add it there and ensure it's working. So same syntax. Here, home image, the name of my component. And here you can see that I'm using some classical markdown syntax to display an image. All my images are, of course, already here. I have lots of images for each of my mountains in my public folder. So let's check if, okay, great, it's already there. I have a big image here, great. And now I want another component which is displaying all my articles. To do so, let's move to UI Pro. There is always a component that can help. And there is the blog list. And the blog list is a great component to display some blog posts. I just have to create a blog list and display all the blog posts I want inside it. So let's do this. I will go to my third component, which is home listing. So I'm using the ULanding section, which is this component first, landing section. So I can use a title, a description, and then put my blog list below those title. So let's start to expose the title with the content slot, exactly the same. Same for the description, I expose the content slot. And then I will add my blog list here. And you can see that I am looping, I am reading my articles and looping over it to display each blog post. Let's have a check at my articles. Here, how can I fetch those articles? It's exactly the same way I've done for the index, except that here I'm saying I want to query the content located at /articles. So if you check here, /articles, here's my content. And then I can add some condition. I can add a where. I can say that I want only markdown extension, for example. In my case, it's not useful because I have only markdown file, but you can do this. You can limit. And to limit, I can provide a count here, which is a prop. So I've defined a prop. I can use the count to display only X items, and I can sort them. And in this case, I want the last article first. Once I have those articles, a good idea is to type them. So I have created an article type, which is extending the parse content. Everything that you query with the query content is extending the parse content. So it's adding some field, the path, the body of your article, everything. And I can add some metadata here. I've added some metadata. I want a title, I want a description, I want a date, I want an image. How can I do this? Here we can go back to the doc of Nuxt Content. And I told you about the MDC syntax. And with the MDC syntax, you have lots of different features. One of them was the integration of Vue component, and another one is the front matter. The front matter can be considered as the metadata of your Markdown file. So you can add as many key value as you want, and when you fetch your page, you have access to those metas, and you can display it on the page. So if I go on my 3 articles, for example, if I take the Pyrenees articles, here you can see I have the title, the description, the image, the date. Same for the Alps, same for the Himalaya. I have all my metas filled here. And when I go back to my components, once I have it's already typed. I can, for example, if I want to fill the Vue blog post here, I will have access to all my description, date, everything is typed. In this case, of course, it's title. Okay, great. This component is created. I've explained how it works. Let's now integrate it in the Markdown. Okay, so I can integrate it here, following always the same syntax. So here I have the prop, the count is 3, and then I have the title and the description. And then under the hood, the home listing component should fetch all my articles from here. Let's see if it's working. Okay, wonderful. I have already my 3 articles there. 1, 2, 3, it's okay. Let's check if the prop is working. If I say I want only 2, okay, perfect. Everything's working. The prop syntax is working. Okay. Now, one more thing before going to edit this website on Studio is to add those articles here. So when I click on it, here, if you check my component, I'm saying 2. So I'm saying that I'm redirected directly to the path of the article. So this is the reason why here I have created a catch-all page under articles to be able to fetch and catch all those files here. It's always, that's a requirement. That's not a requirement, but that's a good practice to keep the same structure between pages and content, between the pages folder and the content folder, because you could do it differently, but for an editor, it's always better to have a markdown that is corresponding to a page. It's more logical. Okay, let's create this page. So for the moment, the page is empty. If I go there, articles, Alps, it's totally empty. So let's just fetch my article. To do so, I can just use the root. Okay, so that's Nuxt composable. And I will say that I want to query the content of the path of the root. So directly, because the root is article/Alps, the query content will fetch the corresponding markdown file. As always, I want to be redirected to the 404 page if the article is not found. And then I want to display it. First thing I can do to display it, so I'm using the U container, which is a UI Pro container. Same as always, just adding some padding, margin and stuff. And I will use the page header to display information about my article. So you can see that it's still typed. So my article still contains some information. And I have all my metadata inside it. So let's just check quickly. Oh, you have already it, but here I'm using the page header, which is here. So I'm just using the page header from UI Pro, and I have already the header of my website. Then what I want to use is the body of my page. So I'm using the U page and the U page body that are also some components of the UI Pro. And as always, I'm using the content renderer to display my article. For the moment, I will hide this. Okay. Okay, so here is the body of my page. You have the content of my page. I'm using the prose here to apply some Tailwind typography prose to be able to read the markdown and display it in a good way. Okay, great. I will just show the last thing, which is we've tried to implement UI Pro and Nuxt Content together. So they are both really, all our products are related. The idea is to have a global ecosystem, as Ferdinand told us. But in this case, I will say that in the right slot of my page, so in the right section of my page, I want to display a talk, a content talk. And we can see that it's starting by content. It's because in the UI Pro, you have some content related component that are here. So you have, for example, a content search, which is already using the navigation of Nuxt Content. You have a content search button, which is doing the same. It's modal. Everything is already reading all your files, displaying all your files. You have the content surround to say I want to check the previous page or the next page for documentation, for example, or even for articles or blog posts. And we have the content talk, which is the table of contents of our article. In this case, okay, here I have the content, the table of content. And this table of content is already generated by Nuxt Content. So we are already providing the talk links, and you just have to send it to the U content doc, and it's already displayed here. And it's generating accordingly to your content inside your markdown file. Okay, perfect. We have already a good looking website with some articles. I can check my articles. Wonderful. I will just add one more component, but that's really an easy one. In the content folder here, you have the pictures. That's a component I've created to integrate some image, because you can easily add image in the markdown. You just have to, for example, in the Pyrenees, we have this image. Let's go to the Pyrenees. This one. Okay, so I can display some images, but sometimes you want to display several images or whatever. You want to create a great component for your content editors to use. And I've just created this one. So it's just displaying some pictures. I have the left picture, center pictures, right pictures. And I can directly, now that we know the syntax, I can directly open, for example, the Alps and say here, oh, I'm displaying Pyrenees pictures in the Alps, but it's okay. And we can display the pictures component. So always the same syntax: left, center, and right slots. And if I go back to the Alps, I can see that I have my image here. Wonderful. And if I have only two images, it's also working. So perfect. I have a little components for my users to play with and display their images. Okay, wonderful. One last thing before going to Nuxt Studio. I don't know if some of you already use the app config, but you can set some variable in your app.config.ts. For example, here, all the UI configuration is in this file. So for example, you can play with the color, the primary color of your website, and you have other configuration which are provided by the UI library, but you can also add custom one. And just to show you how you can add some and edit them on Studio, I've created a header.title, and if I go to my header here, you can see that I'm using that this label here is based on the app.config. I'm reading the app.config and I'm displaying the header.title here in the badge. So if I modify my app.config and I say demo instead, it should be updated here. That's it. Okay. Seems good to me. To save some time, I've already deployed this website, so we can just check it. It's already up. Okay, shortcuts are not working. Where is it? Studio demo. Okay, it's already deployed. I deployed it on Vercel already, so it's already there. And now what I propose is to go to Studio and to import this project on Studio. So I have my Nuxt Content website. It's ready. I just followed the guideline of the documentation of Nuxt Content. And okay, the only thing I need to do to being able to import it in Studio is just to add the Nuxt Studio module. So here, I need to add this module, Nuxt-Q Studio module. All the documentation is on Studio. I just add this module, set it in the Nuxt config, just like for other modules here, and that's all. That's all I need to do. And then I deploy my project, and once it's deployed, I can go there. I have the choice when I go. Oh, I think I should also do this. When I connect on Nuxt Studio, I can either use a GitHub account if I'm a developer. In this case, I can create my own project on my GitHub account, or I can log in with Google, and be part of teams. So of course, I'm a developer. I will log in with GitHub. Here I have all my projects. I have all my websites, also all my teams. All my teams are here, so you can see that my GitHub account is here, but I have also all the teams I'm part of. So there is the Nuxt UI Pro teams, Nuxt Labs teams, lots of different teams. All our documentations are there and are updated from there. So I will go to the debug team, which is the name is clear enough. And I will import my template. When I create a project, I have two possibilities. I can even start from a template, but in this case, if you want to use some templates, you can just go on the Nuxt Studio website and check our templates. We have a SaaS templates, documentation templates, Content Win one. Both of them are UI Pro templates, so you need the UI Pro license, but you can test it without the license. You don't need to. You can test it in development without the license. So yeah, just you can have a check at it. But in my case, I will just import my project, which is in fact already on GitHub. I will just show you GitHub. Should be there. Demo, Nuxt Studio. Oops. Studio demo. Yep. Okay, so the website is already there. I've pushed it already. Let's remove the local here. Let's go back to Studio. So I will import a Nuxt project from here. And from here, you see that I can select the organization where I want to select this project. So I can either select one of my GitHub organization or just take my own account. And because the project is in my own account, I will, okay, I think I need, okay. What the hell? Okay, can I do it again? I'm sorry, because in fact I did not reload the app, so I had a weird behavior with the. Can I go back from here and do it again?
Yes, you can.
Simone, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I will just select my and import my Nuxt project from this interface. I can select the organization where the project is located. So in my case, it's in my own organization. I will just look for the demo page here. Great. I select my repository, and then I just need to select the path, the location of my application. In 95% of cases, it's the root page. It's the root folder, but sometimes it depends. And then I can import my repository. What's happening here behind the hood is that we are synchronizing our files between GitHub and Nuxt Studio. It means that any changes done on Nuxt Studio is reflected on GitHub and vice versa. If you do something on GitHub, it will be directly reflected on Studio. In this case, I have already, as you can see here, because I already deployed my website, the URL was already set in my repository. So Studio is able to know that my URL is already deployed. And I already use the Studio module. So that's it. Everything is already ready, and I can start editing my website from here. Let's have a check at the 3 tabs here. I have a content tab, media tab, and data tab. If I check the content tab, it's exactly the same folder I have here. So I have my index.md and my articles. They are all available here. Here's my index, and here are my articles.
Nice.
If I check at the media, I have all my medias here. This is corresponding to my public folder. Everything is there. And finally, my data here. Here it's powered by the icon that's configuration provided by the icon Nuxt icon module. But I can see that I have my header.title, that was my custom one, and I have my UI configuration with the primary color.
Nice.
I will go back to this later, to the data tab, but let's start with the content. So here, what I can do here, you can see that I have the preview toggle. I can click here, and I can preview my website. Oh, wow. When the landing is loaded, I directly have the content of my page here, and you can see that I will just collapse the component. You can see that I can see my 3 components: the home hero, the home image, and the home listing. They are all here, and I can extend them, and I can see my slots. I have the demonstration slot, demonstration of Nuxt Studio, and it's directly editing the corresponding slots. Here, same for the title. I can update everything. So combination instead of combo. The description is the same. Our editor is based. We all loved Notion. So the idea was to be really close to the Notion editor. So nice. You can do exactly the same thing as you can do in Notion, and this is where we want to take the editor. So we can, of course, use some bold, italic. You can even create some links. And if you check here, you will have all the links of your pages. So if you want to, it makes no sense, but if I want Nuxt Studio to take me to nice. The Pyrenees, I can do this. But of course, it makes no sense, so I can just edit and just put the URL of Studio. It makes more sense. I have also my links, and here you can see that in the link slots, I'm using another component, which is the button. So in this case, here you can see that just like Notion, you have a drag here, and you can click on this drag, and there is lots of actions. You can check the properties of your component. So in the case of the button, because it's a UI button I'm using, and the UI button has a lot of slots, and that's the reason why I prefer to override UI or UI Pro components to only display the props I want and the slots I want. Because if you check the button props, you have lots of props.
And people can mess things up.
Yeah, and that's great. But when you are using content, you don't want people to have access to all the props. But it's funny to show this, and of course you can modify everything. So if you want to change the color, use the primary color or whatever, you can of course change the link to. You can change the size to XL, and everything is applied here. And you can also, with this button, you can also insert above, insert below. It's to add some lines above or below, but you can also duplicate, for example, if you want another button. You duplicate and you use Nuxt Content, and then you come, you edit the link and everything. That's it. Okay, so home hero is good. Now I have my home image with my image in the middle. I can click here and select another image, of course, from my library. But I could also, so here, and I can also edit the alt because it's important. So let's say it's Alps Valley instead of just Valley. It will be updated directly. I can also, if I want, drag and drop some images directly in the editor. I will do that later on an article. And finally, the home listing, everything is there. So you can easily check all your components and edit all your components. Let's move to my Alpine article. Here, for example, I think this image is not the good size, so I could change with this one maybe. Okay, perfect. I can do the same. So I have the 3 slots, left, center, right, everything I've created. And imagine you are on another, if I go back here, so you can also navigate from your file, select your file from here, and you will be, of course, directly moved to the corresponding one. And imagine I don't want this image, let's delete it. And instead, I want to use the components pictures. Here, I can type the slash, just like Notion, and you have all the action line break horizontal rule. That's built-in components. You have all the medias, image, external image, video, but you also have all your components.
Nice.
Here. So you can select your components and, for example, add the pictures one. So it will create the components with the first slot, which is empty, but here I can add an image. And add an image. I'm in the Pyrenees, so I need to select Pyrenees images. Insert. And then if I want to add the other slots, I can click on add section. Add section. And from here, I can select the slot I want to edit.
Nice.
Center, right. Okay, but it makes no sense in this case because it's just a flex above it. But here I can select, let's move this one, insert. Great, always the same pictures, which has not the same size, but it's okay. I will add the last section, image, and my last image will be this one. That's the same.
It's fine.
I can edit
Amazing.
It's okay. Up. All good. Okay, I'm not happy with this wrong size. Okay, better.
Details.
Oh, so close to detail. I love it. Attention to details.
Okay, here it is. The last thing I want to show you, or there is different thing I want to show you. The first thing is here. You can copy your preview URL.
Okay.
And share it with your friends. So I could send it. I don't know where is the page.
The chat on the right.
Where? Yeah, the chat. I don't know where you are, guys. Lots of things.
Or send it out to me, and I will put it on the chat.
Yeah. Okay. Up. Okay. So I'm sending the preview. So when you click on it, you will see that the loader will load, and you will have the preview enabled also on the website. We are using the deployed URL, and we are overriding the website with the data. So
Nice.
you should have access to all the modification I've done.
Is that live? Oh, so if you make some changes, or do you need to give me another preview?
No, if you can see that at the bottom, I can open it there.
Oh yeah, yeah, Nuxt Studio preview enabled. Yes.
That's it here. So you have the Nuxt Studio preview enabled. So it means if you close it, it's back to the production.
Amazing.
Go back to the production.
Kudos, guys.
But I don't know if it was your question, Simone, but if while you have the preview activated, Baptiste make a change, you can see it live, if it was your question.
Yes, yeah, that's the question, and that's
that was the question. So
it's amazing.
So
nice.
That's, we've been using this feature in particular when we are, 5 or 6 around the table, and we are discussing about marketing and the way to present things, and only a couple of people are doing collaboratively changes, but we can see everything live. It's
powerful.
It's very powerful. It's a nice tool to work with. It's actually,
it's everything within the Vue ecosystem.
Yeah. We can also collaborate directly inside the editor. If Ferdinand join me, we have the collaboration and we can edit together at the same time.
If you have, it was not in our scripted demo, but if you
want
to
invite
me to your project,
it was not in the scripted demo yet. But you can join. Before that, I will just explain that behind the scene, what's going on, and we just have written an article about this, about how you can see this in the blog section. If I go there, documentation, if you go in the blog section, I've written an article about what's going under the hood of the Nuxt Studio editor.
Nice.
And how it's working. And here you can see that, in fact, I will maybe take the markdown since it's more understandable. But here we are writing. In fact, we are generating markdown from the editor. So at the end, we are always publishing some markdown. And if I go there and review the changes, you can see that you can have the difference on your markdown. Here, all the modifications that I've done are demonstrated here. And we are only displaying, because Studio is used by some developers, between them for edit documentation or other, but they are also, but Studio is today also used by non-tech people. And in this case, for non-tech people, in fact, when we are logged in with Google, we are hiding this awful markdown differences. So when you are not tech people, you don't have access to this. But for tech people, it's interesting to see what's going on under the hood. And the last thing I want to show is the data here, to be sure that, let's preview it, to be sure that everything is working. So the only thing I didn't show on the code is the Nuxt schema.ts. We have creating a tool with the Studio, some helpers with the Studio module to define the schema you want to display on inside Studio. So if you want to, for example, display only some of the key of your app.config, because an app.config can be really massive, and in this example, I don't want to display all the UI key, but maybe display the primary key is great, and display my demo key is great also, because I want to demonstrate it. So here I've created an header, and I'm saying that I have a group, and inside this group I have the title key. So I have the header.title, and here are some meta that are displayed on Studio. If you go back to Studio, here you can see title, left badge of your header. It's what I've set here. And here I have the icon. You can set the icon which is displayed here. So you can customize the experience. And for the UI, for example, here you have the primary. And for the primary, I've set some required key. So there is a select here with the required key, and I can, of course, change it. And it's just directly updating the color of my website. And for the header, of course, you can also play with it. and it's also working here. And same thing, when you are going to review your changes, it's not for non-tech people, but for developers. You can see that we are directly editing the app.config here. That's it. And when you are happy with all those changes, the thing you can do is just publish your changes. You publish your changing, it will synchronize with GitHub. And you can use, we have a command palette, so you can hit the command K, or you can click here on search. There are lots of actions. You can go to your files, medias, everything, and you have lots of actions here. And you can open your project on GitHub. So if I open it on GitHub, I can see that my pushes have been done. And if the repository is, if you have a CI which is deploying directly, your website will be up in 2 minutes.
Amazing.
That's it.
That's fantastic. So I have a couple of questions. First of all, it was great. Okay. I come from, very start of my development was WordPress, and it's where I think, we went away from it, where there was a lot of things that worked well because you were able to do a site and give it to people that were not technical, and they were able to keep the site going, while we moved away from that. I think this is just great. What you were showing about the preview and what you were showing about, being able to show a technical view and not a non-technical view is fantastic. What I also wanted to emphasize is the push for the Vue ecosystem for things to be working together. So that's like, you showed the Nuxt Content and the Nuxt Studio and Nuxt UI, and you change the color, and it's very hard sometimes to draw the lines because everything works so well together. That is really, good job. It's fantastic. Question for you. Have you got any plan of supporting multi-language internationalization?
Clearly, there is lots of plans coming. First thing is there are already several people who ask me that, and we've been able to create it already working international website with Studio. So it's already possible. And there is, if you go in the Discord, we have a really active Discord, and there are already posts about it, and you can find some solution to provide IT internationalization website. It's not yet, it's functional. It's functional. It's not yet. What I want to say, we will do better. We are working on a new version of content currently. This new version of content will provide lots of new features, including schema generation for my articles. If you go there, oh, I was sure I shouldn't have stopped the presentation. If you go there, here, you have all the settings. Yeah, I didn't show that, but here you have all the settings of your app. This is the front matter we are seeing. And in the next version, we want to remove all, I don't want to edit this CSV, DCML, sorry. I want to be able to edit a formula. So we will give the ability to create some schema with the new version of content, and then then Nuxt Studio will adapt this visual with the schema you are providing. And in fact, you can also edit some YAML file inside your content folder. Here I could add some YAML file and I can edit them. But the edition currently is, I don't have settings here, but the edition currently is using this syntax. In the next version, we will have a new interface with a formula, and it will be based on the schema you will be generating in Nuxt Content, and also in this new version of Nuxt Content, we will provide more utilities and guidelines for the internationalization.
And also, if I may, Baptiste, this push to gradually eliminate everything that looks like code is one of the main objectives. It's part of the main objective. We are trying to make Studio as welcoming as possible. We are trying to be as customizable as possible for developers and also as welcoming as possible for non-tech developers, because that's the two main things that is really difficult to make coexist in a CMS today. But that's where we're pushing.
That's amazing. That's
Indeed.
fantastic. Good. Just one very technical question. Is there an ability for the Nuxt, for the Nuxt Studio to push to a specific branch? Because I guess now it was pushing directly to main. Would they be able to change it to say, oh, just push into staging and want something else? I know I'm probably going into much.
But makes lots of sense, and it will be. That's my next task. Really,
it's fine. It's great.
So it's coming in 2 months, I think.
Well, I want to emphasize that this is I would say is a baby product. Last year, how old is the Nuxt Studio?
Of the real Nuxt Studio, the first version was end of 2023, I think.
Okay.
The beta version.
1 year old.
The beta version, so it's not even 1 year.
Okay. The beta version is 1 year ago. The V1 is like eight months ago, and the V2 is 4 months ago.
Okay. So progress has been fantastic. From the time I said, oh, look, I heard about Nuxt Studio. I don't know what it is. By the time I checked it, there's already been so much. As always, the Vue community is very active, and I know that Nuxt is as well. So, don't need to apologize for something not being there. This is going so fast, and I know that it's gonna be adopted by many people indeed. Sorry.
Now, I was just going to say that's a funny story. The feature, the branch feature, the branch management feature, because it was there. We had to remove it for the V2, so we already have it, but we are going to release it.
We have the backend. We have the backend.
Yeah.
No, but
it's a business tweak.
Ferdinand is not technical, so he will say that we have it. I have to code it. And,
it's just a button, right? It's just a button.
You can clearly see the difference about a sales and a dev. I'm like, we have it. It's ready. Tomorrow you got it.
Okay. So this is what is happening. Baptiste logs in with GitHub, and Ferdinand is the person that logs with the Google in the Nuxt Studio, right?
Exactly. And the story.
No shame in that.
No shame. That's why the product is there, and that's why it works well. Because if it works for Ferdinand and it works for Baptiste, it works for your clients as well.
Exactly. And the story behind it is that first, Studio was created to edit our own documentation. So we are editing directly the Markdown. Here you see that I can select code editor, and in this case, I can edit directly Markdown, and it's working. The preview is also working, so you can edit directly Markdown. But Ferdinand was lost with this version, so he asked for removing everything that was frightening him, and this is why Studio is less technical today.
It's fantastic. Ferdinand is the best client.
I just wanted to update some marketing stuff, and to be honest, what I realized is when you don't perfectly understand something and you are faced with a choice, you just quit. You just stop using the application because you're afraid that you're going to make a mistake, publish something that is going to create a big bug. You don't know. You just don't know it works. So I was asking every day about this. Yeah, just can you hide that? Don't show it to me. Don't show it to me how it works, because I was actually afraid of what I'm doing. So now I have something really straightforward that I can do whatever I want. All the tools I need just at the tip of my cursor, and so I'm very happy with the work that Baptiste put in.
And I got one last question. That probably this is more of a long-term vision. So when you were doing the demo, it brought me back the Vue CLI kind of feeling. You remember when Vue.js had the Vue CLI, that you were able to control so much from it, so many applications, so many plugins, and so many things. Would you say that in the long run, more things will join into the studio? So let's say I'm adding something silly. I'm adding a MailChimp app. I don't know, a MailChimp integration, and it's application. I don't know, something like that. Do you think it'll move that way, or do you think it's just going to stay mainly as a content?
I think we'll have a big discussion, and I was talking about. Okay, let's put my ideas together. To answer your question, I think Nuxt Hub could be this kind of product.
Exactly.
Nuxt Hub is more designed to be this kind of product. But because we really want all our products to work together, I was talking about the next version of Nuxt Content we are working on. And we are creating this new version in particular for lots of reasons, and for the features I was explaining before, but also because we want content websites to be deployable on the edge.
Okay, fine.
Currently, you can deploy content website on the edge, but only small content websites because we have issues with the way we are storing and fetching data, and it's taking too much memory. So we need to. It's okay when it's static or when it's server-side rendered, but for edge rendering and cold start, it's not really good. So that's the reason why we are creating this new Nuxt Content version. So the idea is to give the ability to deploy on Nuxt Hub, to deploy your Nuxt Studio project on Nuxt Hub, and then I don't know where the future will lead us, but maybe Nuxt Hub, Nuxt Studio could merge. Maybe it will remain two different products. But I know that Sebastian at Linux has a lot of ideas for Nuxt Hub also, and nice. What you were presenting is close to what he has in mind for Nuxt Hub.
Yeah. You already were in the right direction, Simone, when you mentioned that you can see the objective that we have to make that everything we do is compatible by design and also with the rest of the Vue ecosystem. That's our baseline. That's what we want to keep doing. So first of all, once we reach a certain level of development, like for example, Baptiste mentioned the branch management feature that's coming in the coming months, and content v3, and the next step will be to make sure that everything is compatible by design, and then why not, go further into what our user will want. That's all. We don't know what we don't know. And we
don't know what we don't know. Indeed, I think this has been a fantastic JS drop. So thank you so much for everybody that tuned in into JS drop. The fun doesn't stop here. From my understanding, Ferdinand and Baptiste are also going to record a podcast on our podcast in this lab, and it's going to come up, I don't know when, probably a month, 2, 3, but sure there will be more questions asked there. And also don't forget that we got loads of exciting videos on our YouTube channel. And with this, I say thank you and goodbye to Ferdinand and Baptiste. Thank you for the demo. Fantastic to see this product, and I look forward for anything else that comes from it.
Thank you very much.
For having us.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sometimes it's hard to bridge the gap between business objectives and tech implementation, and it can get messy. This dot is trusted by top names like Meta, Google, and T-Mobile, and they love helping business leaders fulfill their strategic digital initiatives. Check them out at thisdot.co. One more time, that's thisdot.co.